Welcome back to Wild Things, everyone. I'm Erika Billerbeck. I'm an Iowa Conservation Officer, and I'm here to bring my after-school program Wild Things to you at home. For those of you who missed episode 1, I hope you'll go back and watch it and send me some of those maps that we worked on. This episode is going to be a little bit different because we are going back to the future. Dun dun.
What? I thought we were going back to the past.
Okay, we're going back to the past, I guess. So some of you may not know that a long time ago, before there were even deer, turkeys, woods, grasslands,
before there were dinosaurs,
and even before there were dinosaurs, Iowa, the land that we now know as Iowa, was once covered by a tropical sea. And that was back like 375 million years ago, in an age they called the Devonian Age. And scientists called it the Age of Fish. The Age of the Fishes, I guess.
Devonian Sea.
So, how do you know that we used to be covered in a tropical sea? One way we know is that we have found fossils that tell us that. And I bet lots of you have been out at some point out hiking or playing outside and have been lucky enough to find a fossil. So you might not have known that that came from sea life, but that's what it probably came from, depending on which fossil you found. So we're here at Turkey Creek today, and this is our favorite fossil hunting spot. Silas and I are going to look around here and see if we can find some fossils to show you. Let's see what we've got here. Silas and I found several fossils just in the amount of time it took to, you saw us going high speed there looking for fossils.
I made a giant pile.
He made a giant pile of fossils. So I'm going to have Andy come over and show close up some of these fossils. We've got lots of different kinds, all the way from standard looking fossils like you would normally think of a fossil to be, like a little coral, like that.
Like mushrooms.
Yep. And then some of these kind are quite common down here. These are called horn corals or solitary corals. And these used to be skeleton, like a hard skeleton with tentacles coming out that would trap the food. They're kind of cone shaped and they had soft tissues inside. Obviously they don't anymore. Then we've got these brachiopods. I bet some of you have found brachiopods before. They look like shells. And it's interesting because fossils are formed when an animal or a plant dies in a watery environment and it's buried in mud and silt. And then the soft tissues decompose and they leave like a cast behind, kind of like a footprint in the mud. Other times that hard material, or the soft material and the hard material decomposes and
you get soft fossils?
Well, the minerals seep in and harden and become petrified, and that's how these fossils are formed. So I showed you some kind of like shells. They were hinged animals. Then these are really cool. See that circle on the fossil right there? That's called a crinoid. I don't have many examples of crinoids up here today, but these were fossils that were long-stemmed creatures, plants. Yeah, there's one Andy's got. And a lot of times those segments of the stem would break off, and that's what you find as a fossil, is kind of a circle-type fossil.
These are the most common.
Here, Silas found a giant one that has lots of, looks like coral or something. I'm not a fossil expert by any means, guys, but I just think it's really cool to think about how Iowa used to be an ocean. So we're going to take a few of these fossils and put them in our nature journals, and then we're going to do an activity back at the house. So I'll see you back at the house. Hi guys, we're back inside. We're ready to put some things into our nature journals. So you'll need to get your sketchbook or notebook, or even if all you have, I know you're stuck at home, so if all you have is pieces of paper, that's fine, because they can always be stapled together later to make a little book. So you might kind of wonder why why I think that this artwork is so important for our nature journals. And there's a couple different reasons. And part of it is, I think that somebody who's interested in nature, like a conservation officer, has to be observant. And artists also have to be observant, because you have to be able to see lots of little details in everything that you're going to draw. And so being an artist and focusing on little details helps you to your observation skills to get even better. And that helps me in my job even. So, but the main reason that I think this is important is, you know, we're stuck at home, and I think that doing these drawings that we're going to do in our nature notebooks kind of helps relax me. It helps me to be able to look at details on these objects and draw them in focus, and it helps my mind to not be so worried, and I'm able to just sit back and relax and draw. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay guys, we're back inside, and we're gonna add some sketches to our nature journal to keep track of some observations. So I brought some of these inside for you to look at. Normally I would do my sketches outside, but since you're having to do it in your house, I'm going to do the same thing today. So you may need to, when you do decide to do your drawing, you're probably going to have to pause your video at this shot right here so that you can get a better look and take your time in your drawing. So I'll zoom in on a few spots here in case you want to pause your video at any of these specific fossils to draw. We got some corals over here, horned coral. I know this isn't an ideal situation, but it still gives you something to work on. All right, now I'm going to work on mine, and you can follow along and watch me get my drawing done. Okay guys, I'm going to start a drawing here, and this is something we normally don't do in Wild Things. Usually we're so busy getting muddy and playing and exploring that we don't have time for the artwork, so I guess I've always wanted to do more with nature notebooks, with Wild Things. I guess this is my chance now that I've got you all caught at home. You can do some drawings with me. So first thing is, I do mine in a watercolor notebook. You can see that over the, I've done some different drawings here more recently now that I've been kind of at home. But I've started using a pen. You can use anything you want to use, marker, or you can use pencil or color pencil or crayon or whatever works for you. I use a pen because I started to have trouble with being a perfectionist, and when I would draw with pencil, I'd spend more time erasing it than I would actually drawing. So I started using a pen so that I would just force myself to do my best, and if I messed up, I messed up, and it didn't really matter. So the first thing is you're just going to want to get an idea of the shape. This one's obviously shaped in a little bit of a horn shape. So I'm going to move it like that. And we're going to start at the top here and just get a general idea of the shape of it. This is just, a sketch, guys. This isn't like master artwork. So I can give you an idea of the shape of it, just like that. And the best advice I can give you for any kind of realistic drawing is always just to draw what you see, not what you know. So just train your eyes to look at all these details and try to put them onto the paper the best way you can. And it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. So I'm going to speed up the video from here on out so you can see this come into shape here. Okay, so here's just a basic sketch of it. I'm going to add color in a little bit, but first I'm going to do another quick sketch of a different fossil just so I can fill up my page a little bit more. How about, well, let's go with one like this, horn coral, or not horn coral, just a coral. I'm not sure what kind of coral it is, but you can see that it's got lots of little details. If you look close, look at all those little lines around each of these holes, and it's got these dents or these holes in it, along with all these little striations around the outside. So this one I'm going to do a little bit faster so you can watch it in fast mode here. Alright guys, now I'm going to paint these. I use my watercolor paints like this. I know it's all messy, but I use these a lot, so they get all messy. You can use color pencil, whatever works for you. It doesn't matter, but if you do use watercolor, you want to make sure you have a heavier paper so it doesn't soak right through. Alright, you can watch this come to life here with color. These are not the best drawings I've ever done, but I did them quickly. And just to give you an idea, but it doesn't matter what they look like. It's my notebook and nobody's going to judge me on it, I don't think. So we'll get these colored in and move on to the activity for the day. Just as a side note, what I usually do is I'll write down the date, I'll write down maybe where I found these fossils, maybe if I know what they are, I'll write down what they are. And any other thoughts that I have, any other observations I make in the spot where I found these. You might even want to write down like what the weather is, although you're inside probably, so you can just leave that part out until we're able to get back out and about like normal. All right, you can watch me paint now. So I hope you guys had fun drawing your fossils and putting them into your nature journals, and I hope that a few of you will send me pictures so I can keep track of what your drawings look like too. these are activities that anybody can do, whether you're 5 years old, 7 years old, or 72 years old. So it's just fun stuff for everybody. So now is going to be our activity for the week, or for the show, I guess. And these are also things you can email me or post onto the YouTube page and share your pictures with everybody. So this activity is going to take a bit of imagination. And part of the reason is because we're going to be incorporating the Devonian age, which is where these fossils are from, 375 million years ago, with present-day Iowa. So let's look at what some scientists think the Devonian age looked like. Here's some pictures that I printed off the internet, and it shows what the sea would have looked like, or what Iowa would have looked like. And here are some of the animals that scientists believe existed based on fossils. So imagine Iowa covered in this kind of habitat. What we're going to do, this is like the Back to the Future part I was talking about. We're going to bring the past to the present and combine these two things into a drawing. I'm going to show you a couple ideas. But one thing I've learned working with kids is that kids have much bigger imaginations than adults. So I expect your drawings to be like wild and crazy, where mine are kind of boring. But anyway, here's my example. Let me move these so you can get a better look at it, and I'll explain what it is. My idea that I came up with was to imagine an Iowa farm. I got this idea when I was walking my dog down the gravel road and saw the cows out in the pasture. And I imagined what that Devonian sea would look like where the cows were standing. So I drew Mr. Cow munching on these Devonian creatures and plants. This is supposed to be water, but you can't really tell that very easily. So the fish are swimming around. This fish is going to eat the barn, and these cows don't know what's going on. So that's kind of the idea I came up with for my picture. Silas, you want to explain your drawing?
Okay.
Let's turn it around so they can see it.
It's upside down, though.
To you it is, but not to them.
No, exactly.
Okay, here.
Wait a minute, I can do it.
What is your drawing about here?
Well, there's a house here. I based it off of our house. It's not our house, but I based it off of it. There's a chimney, but bubbles are coming out.
Looks like you got some Devonian creatures.
Yeah, here's like that really famous one that has like those big teeth right here and the little teeth back there.
Okay.
I think they evolved into sharks. These are the ones that their bottom lip curls.
Oh.
They're predators.
He looks pretty spiky.
There's also this one. But one of them is eating something. I don't know what it's eating. And then here's the chicken coop. I made up like these little lizard creatures once going through the window. This one has like head feathers. I based it off of one of the chickens back there at the chicken coop. So
Silas brings up a good point. For this activity, you're using your imagination. You don't have to go off the pictures on the internet. You can make up creatures that you think would have existed in the Devonian time.
Like a two-headed fish.
Two-headed fish.
And then there's just a robot sinking down.
Cool.
And then there's a block that would usually be, there's dice, and then there's some blocks that have fish on them.
Nice, Silas. I like your drawing.
And then I made up that creature, too.
Very nice.
Kind of fish.
I like it.
And then there's those swirly things. I don't know what they're called.
Okay.
Swirly creatures.
Well, we emailed...
Wait,
one more thing?
I forgot, like, probably the most creative thing. There's flower beds, except they're made of coral.
The flower beds out front of the house are now Devonian coral.
Although we don't have any flower beds, but I just added that part in anyway.
Okay, so we emailed this idea to my mom, who's also stuck at home. And she's 72, so this can prove a 72-year-old can do it. Here's what she came up with. This is her flower bed out front of her house. And it's now overtaken by Devonian creatures. Some of you might live in the city and might have to draw a cityscape, or you might want to draw the White House, or you might want to draw the Statue of Liberty, and who knows what, but draw something to combine with the Devonian age. My daughter, Andy, who's filming right now, she came up with this. And this shows also that you don't have to have a sketchbook. You can just use a regular notebook to draw.
So here's the Dunkleosaurus fish, the one that Silas was talking about with the big teeth and like the plates at the front of it. And there's an iPhone. And a coral reef with Devonian things. So basically that's what it is.
I wonder if that fish can make a phone call, Si.
Oh, yeah. And maybe he just gets on and texts, "Hey, that's not right."
Okay. All right, guys. So that's your assignment for this time. Try to make a drawing combining the Devonian age with present-day Iowa. I can't wait to see your drawing, so email me at the email address that'll appear at the end of this video. Include your name and address, too, so that I can send you prizes as soon as we get those going to keep track of who participates. See you later, guys.